This conference will now be recorded.
I'm going to ask at this time Lion Charmaine from the Lions Club of Montego Bay to lead us with the Lions Prayer.
Sorry, Lion Judy, she's having challenges to get on our internet network.
Lion Vilma, thanks very much for volunteering. Would you go ahead, please?
Let's have the Lions. Where Lions meet, the present Lord.
Present Lord.
Present Lord.
Well,
Hearts
in one accord.
Well, their hearts and
Lord.
one accord.
Lord, make us strong.
Do thy will,
Thy will,
Lord,
Heal the
Lord.
weak and right the wrong.
to make us strong.
Amen.
Weak
And right.
and right the wrong.
Thank you, Lion Vilma. Lions, before we go any further, I notice that there are a few cameras. I think they are muted now. No, we still have a few cameras that need, a few mics that need to be muted. Okay? I want to welcome you all to this session for presidents and vice presidents. I'm sure the team is pleased to see the number of participants. We are at this point, just at the start of the meeting, we are at 48. And I know that's not all presidents. There are some persons who, out of curiosity, are logging on, and some who have aspirations to be presidents or vice presidents. So we welcome all. A special welcome. And let me say this. There are some people that you see in the lineup, you see, and you kind of feel as if you remember in the good old days when the Ministry of Education would send inspectors to school. That's how I feel when I see certain people there, because I know they could efficiently and effectively perform the task of presenters in all of these sessions that they have attended. I would like to welcome in a special way Lion Sherwin, who is joining us all the way from Barbados. Special invitation.
Thank you, Lion Judy. Good afternoon, all. Thank you, Lion Judy.
Nice to have you, Lion Sherwin. This evening, the presentation is going to be handled by 3 lions. You will hear from Lion Lindell Smith, who really doesn't need any introduction to this group. But Lion Lindell is presently the president of the Lions Club of Mandeville, and he is a past council chairman, chairperson, and a Progressive Melvin Jones Fellow. You also have Lion Paulette McGregor, who is the leadership coordinator for associate leadership. What were we called? Because now that the new term come on, I'm so confused. Anyway, Lion Paulette is my counterpart in Region 4, and you will be hearing from her shortly. And then I will do my part. As I said before, we have quite a number of persons who really don't fit into the group of presidents or vice presidents. So I want to invite you at this time, if you would just indicate in the chat section, there's a chat box to the right-hand side of your screen. You see a little round, something that looks like a ring, and the number 7 is next to it. If you click on that, you will be able to record your presence and what your position is. We would appreciate hearing from you. I always like to start with an icebreaker. And this evening's icebreaker is very simple. I want you to think, because this is new to a number of you. Some of you have had this type of presentation numerous times, because we have repeat presidents. We have people, as I said, out of curiosity, who are joining with us. But I would like you to think of your feeling at this point. Is it one of anxiety to take on your new role? Is it one of excitement? We need to hear from you. So if you will just write on a bit of paper somewhere or share in that same chat group, as you register your position, you could just put that one word that describes how you feel at this time. One adjective, that's all you're being asked for. Okay, so now we move right into the presentation, and we will start with Lion Paulette.
Thank you very much, Lion Judy. And it is indeed my pleasure to be a part of this presentation this evening. and I'm looking forward to offering all I can to make sure that this presentation is all it is supposed to be. We're going to start out with the President's oath, and I'm treating this President's oath as your commitment as President to your club, the zone and region chair, the district governor, and indeed the international president. So having been elected to the office of president of your club, you are seen as the chief executive officer and will be expected to preside at the meeting at your board of directors and indeed preside at all of your meetings, the board of directors meetings, your other meetings that you must be a part of. And of course, we welcome also the vice presidents because they must take this training seriously and understand that they are presidents in waiting and must indeed make sure that they are coming up in just another 12 months time, 24 months time, or 36 months time if they are the third vice president. The president must also take the oath to do a good job so that at the end of the day, everybody can say well done. And they will be able to appoint the administrative and activities committee. And you must remember now that the president must make sure that the persons they select for these committees are in keeping with the style of the committee. You don't want persons who are not loving a particular position, but you put them to chair it. It will not work. Have persons who are vibrant and outgoing to your committees like PR and so, persons who are interested in the medical field to be in that sort of committee and so on. So that the persons who are there in these various committees, they'll be happy doing what they're doing. Remember now, you are looking at, as part of the district governor's advisory committee, also your secretary. So you must make sure that all the information that you have regarding your club and all the various things that you must do in terms of projects and activities are well documented. You want to go, when you go to the quarterly advisory committee meetings, the information that you give, the zone chair will be able to toss it up to the region chair and to the district governor and so on. You have to give account of the stewardship and your record of achievement for that particular period. For the first period, when you go to the first district meeting, you might not have much to record because what you're going to be saying now is what your plans are. But for the short space of time between now and your first meeting, if you start and hit the ground running on July 1, you would have been able to make a record and report on what you have done thus far. Please, it is now, tomorrow is June. Take the time now to start making your preparations and making your plan. Concentrate on the projects that the international president and the district governor is interested in, but you must also concentrate on your club's activities. Every club is unique in its own way, so you must make sure that you see to the needs of your constituents and you see to the needs of your club. The personality of the club usually dictates the type of projects that we take on based on the membership base, the things that they do, their own satisfaction and everything. Again, at this stage, this is a good stage. You decide the sort of CEO that you want to be, and you concentrate on being that proper executive member. You are to develop an implementation strategy, and of course, this is based on what has happened before and how you want to improve your club. No matter how well the club has done in the past, you want to put your own mark. And your implementation strategies will be fine. The decision is based on the information that you have garnered and the information that you want to pass on and the impact that you want. Your personal side of leadership will either make or break the club. All of us must remember that the club is a volunteer organization. So your personal side of leadership, though important, whether it be democratic, autocratic, a dictatorship, or a laissez-faire, which we're not going to bring into this now because a laissez-faire leadership leads from behind and we don't want that. But we must talk about now making yourself into a situational leader so that every single situation that comes up in the club and the persons that you're dealing with, you will know how to deal with it because there are some situations you will listen to the various arguments and so, but you must make sure that the particular situation will call for your mark. And there's going to be a time when you can be democratic, and there's going to be a time when you have to be a little more autocratic in order for things to go. So, because at the end of the day, failure or not, you're the CEO, the principal, and the buck stops with you. Now we're going to look at the oaths of the vice presidents. They are the presidents in waiting. And in order of your office and presence, you will substitute for the president when he or she is absent from any club or board meeting, directors meeting, or any other situation where
Advocate, you graduate.
where the president's presence is needed. Your position is more than an honorary one. And the vice president shall, under direction of the president, oversee the functioning of such committees as the president may designate. And these are, of course, we all know this, directors' meetings, business meetings, committee meetings, and any other ad hoc meeting that is required to be chaired by a president. So at the end of this incoming presidency, you should be ready as a vice president to take over immediately. And then now, at the end of this now, I'm going to pass over to Land Lindell, who will take you on to getting started as a new president.
Thank you. Thank you, Lion Paulette.
Yes,
There seem to be a lot of sounds coming back through my mic. Somebody
to disconnect them.
Right. Okay, now getting started. It is now June. It's coming on to July. Your term of office starts on the 1st of July. I don't know if you are like me, you all have a favorite TV show. My favorite TV show is Criminal Minds. Now in Criminal Minds, the BAU, every member of the BAU team must have what is known as a go bag. Now, the go bag is something that is packed and ready to go at an instant. Now, when you are president of a Lions Club, you must have a similar kind of bag. You must have a bag in which you have a number of things always ready, always at hand, so that you can get to them easily. The code of ethics, the Leo objects, the Lions purpose, and the Lions objects, your constitution and your Robert's rule of order. And before I go on to the other things, I just wonder how many of us, as we sit here, remember what the Lions purpose and the Lions objects are. I don't expect you to tell me no, but I know, having raised that, you will start to just think about it a little more in your mind and attempt, certainly if you're a president, that before you get to your first meeting, you remember what those are. As I said, the Constitution and the Roberts Rule of Order, your club's directory, a clean Lions vest, and one of the things you need to always have as a president is a sense of humor, and the clean Lions vest just brings me to think of something. What happened if you pack your bag and don't remember to take out the vest every once in a while to have it clean? If you have it, is good, still work. But remember, if it is clean, it represents your club better. Protocol guide for instructions, name cards, and for the head table, reserve signs, and a notebook for recording. We have learned one thing so far from the COVID-19, that we have to make certain changes to the way we do things, and we are now getting in totally in the technological age. So instead of a go bag packed like this, you can replace a part of the bag with something that we all have and which we remember far quicker than a bag. That is either your smartphone or your tablet. I'm saying this because your Lions Code of Ethics, your Leo objects, your Lions purpose and objects, your Constitution, Robert's Rule of Order, club directory, all of those can fit easily on your phone and they are on your tablet, and make them just as, in fact, probably easier to get to if you need them than actually having them in your bag to get to when you need. Obviously, you can't put the clean vest on the phone, nor the name cards and reserve signs. But think of that. As president, when you get a chance, copy all of these to your phones. They'll do two things. One, they'll ensure that you have them, and two, they'll assist you in remembering them a little better if you have to go through and copy them to the phone. Also, I am going to ask you that in as far as the Code of Ethics is concerned, how much better it would also be if you just attempt to learn it. So you don't really need it in the bag or on the phone because you know what it is. So those are the things that you are going to use to be prepared come July 1st and time for your first meeting. We'll now go on to your leadership principles. And your leadership principles, Diane Judy. We have no problem. Diane Judy,
I am on now. I'm
okay.
sorry. All right. I was just saying, Lion Lindell, thanks. And now that the bag is packed, presidents and vice presidents are ready to step out and to get the job done. So now I'm going to go through the principles that you need to carry forward. So you have the bag packed, but this is what you have to take in your brain. You have to keep abreast of community needs. I'm sure you have heard about the importance of doing a needs assessment. This is when you start doing it. This is when you start thinking about it. So come July 1, you're moving forward with your assessment. You get members involved in community activities. And I can think of two things that I always love to see my Lions represented. Decked out in their vests, Heroes Day celebration. When you go out to your, whatever park you have in your community, and the mayor or the custos, whoever it is that does this kind of thing, is there handing out to community persons. There are also opportunities at the municipal carol service to make your presence felt. You could be members of many civic and community groups. You don't have to lead them, because as president, sometimes your plate is very full. But of course, you can be a part of it. Have a shared vision with the members of your club. You can't be going one way and then the rest of the membership is seeing things in a different way. Establish goals and review these goals as necessary. When you consider something like COVID that has turned things upside down, you realize that some plans that you might have had for your year, for the year when you are president, will not work so well. And so you have to review your goals as necessary. Manage the formation of cliques. We're going to stop a little bit on this one, because I know we have two types of cliques, and you know that. I'm sure each person here can name cliques in their club. And I always say I'm a member of a clique in my club. Ryan Lindell knows this. But I try to be a member of the clique, the progressive clique, the clique that gets things done, the clique that will volunteer to be a part of any activity. I think we're all worried about the bad clique, but there are ways to incorporate those persons into your meeting. As you try to, you remember now they're adults, it's not children, and they're all volunteers. So you have to be very careful how you try to break up those cliques. It could be the way that you let them sit, you allow them to sit in meetings. The fact that you might identify that group to do something specific at meetings, so they will not be as disruptive as they would normally be. Or you choose one person who you perceive as the clique leader to do something significant in a meeting, because even for that time, that clique is broken, and then you will find over time there is improvement in that behavior. Have realistic objectives. Don't want to plan something that you don't think you will even achieve in your year. So let your objectives be achievable. Evaluate current projects and build on successes. Not because you're a new president, it means that you have to throw out everything that has been done, because some of us, we have wonderful projects in our club, or projects that are at the point that they just needed a little bit more work to really take off. We want to build on those things and not throw them out and then have to start all over again. Your membership will feel as if you're moving forward, and not that every step forward we take 2 or 3 steps backward. How important is recognition? I think the last 3 presentations we have had, 3 or 4, that matter came up for discussion. How important it is we're not being paid. And it is nice that when we do something, the person at the helm remembers and recognizes what we have done and share with others what we have done. Our reason for doing what we do is not for the recognition, but it certainly helps, doesn't it? Motivate others, especially if you see where there are people who are not involved. Try and get them to be a part of your group to move things forward. It's amazing how sometimes you find that you recognize a good leader by just that quiet person who sits to the side or to the back of the room. Delegate. My mother used to say, don't hog up everything. And sometimes we are tempted to do that. We think we are the leader, we are the president, we need to do it all. It is so good to have other people that you can call on to get the job done. And you will find that maybe it is even done better than you could have done it. Good public relations. Market the club, not yourself. You know, I was speaking to Lion District Governor-elect a few days ago, and she says she's never happy when she hears people ask, so what you going to do in your year? What are the plans for your year? She wants us to all buy into it, because this is just another year in Lionism that she has the privilege of leading. This is how you have to look at your presidency. It's neither your club in terms of ownership or your presidency in terms of dictating what must happen. When you go out and you have to speak to a group, always talk about the Lions Club of whatever it is. Never say I, me. I think Lion Dave spoke about that most eloquently in his presentation. Know your committees and show enthusiasm in all their projects. You remember, you're an ex officio member, so you go to all the committee meetings, and God bless COVID for what it brings to us now. We don't have to go out every night of the week. We can sit at home with that special drink beside us and participate in all these committee meetings. So there's something good coming out of COVID. Be involved in new members' orientation. This could make or break a new member, you know. You might have people who are able to do wonderful orientations, but consider yourself as a new member, as a prospective member. You are visiting a club and they are telling you about the organization, and the president of the club is not visible, is not there, is not helping to lead the discussion and to make sure that you are comfortable and remain interested. Work collaboratively with other clubs, not just talking about Lions clubs here. Partner with Rotary, Kiwanis, and any other service kinds of clubs in your area. Be involved and get members involved in zone, region, and district meetings. Here goes the same discussion again. Virtual meetings seems to be the way to go for a while. So there's going to be hardly any reason for missing any of these meetings. Encourage your members to participate. Communicate. How important it is to communicate, and to remember that communication is not only what you are saying, but it is also listening and reacting to what other persons say in a way that is respectful and understanding. Always read your correspondence so you know what is going on. Ask, ask, ask. Who do you ask? More experienced Lions in your club, in the zone, the region, and the district. We older Lions like to be asked, because at this stage we are just resource persons, and we want you to remember that. Lion Paulette?
Yes, Lion Judy, I'm here. Thank you.
It's your turn.
Yes, thank you. We are now going to be talking about working with your zone and region chairpersons. Remember now, as president and or vice president, you're a part of this great team, and the region and zone chairpersons, they rely on you for information. They rely on you to report your club's progress at the zone meetings, and in a manner that can be passed on to the region chair. Now, this particular area is very important because all of us have been involved in zone meetings, and we see the presidents go up and they make their presentations. On most occasions, you get approximately 5 minutes, and some of us will spend the 5 minutes, and at the end of the period, the audience can't say exactly what you're presenting on the progress of your club or so. So I'm recommending bullet points and images, pictures, to give us a better picture of what is going on. And as you know, the international president, the district governor, the region and chairpersons, they have an interest in certain areas for their particular year. So I would recommend that you put that first at the top. And then of course your club's objectives and projects of afterwards, and then anything else that you have to report on. So in case your 5 minutes run out, you would have spoken about the more important projects that your club is going to embark on. And please, don't write in prose. You only have the 5 minutes. Write in bullet points and get to the point. as I said, address the key areas as requested by the zone and region chair. And if you're having a challenge, prepare your document, pass it around to the rest of the senior persons in your club, talk to your zone chair about it to see if you might be missing anything, and other appropriate district officers. Most of us now can get a wealth of information from persons that are in your own club or in other clubs. And the whole thing that I like about Lionsing, you can talk to anybody in the district about information and they're willing to share with you. So that is very, very important. Then we have working with the zone chairs and region chairs, we continue. Always keep your club's membership informed of everything that is happening. Don't keep the information to yourself. Love to communicate. Invite your club members to take part in development training such as this and leadership, and to keep an interest in leadership positions. And even if you are not going to be the president or the vice president in a few years, there's nothing wrong with participating in training. Lions International website have lots and lots of information that you can go in at your leisure and look up all of these information so that when time comes for you to be involved in a particular position, it's already there. Encourage your club members to attend zone and region meetings. And I would say not only zone and region meetings, there's cabinet meetings, conferences, international conferences, district meetings, because under normal circumstances, most of us would not normally pick up yourself and say, let's go to Barbados for vacation. But when you go to these places outside of your home country, it is so refreshing because, you know, for the most part, you're treated as tourists. You go on tours and you see the sights of that particular country. You make friends with the other persons in the district, and it is so gratifying, right? I love this sort of presentation, the online, but it doesn't meet the requirements of the camaraderie and the hugs and this sort of thing. So we're hoping that COVID will allow us in short order to be able to do that again. You, as the president, must always attend all regularly scheduled zone and region meetings. It is important that you be in attendance. But if by chance something happens, this is where your vice president comes into play, and make sure that all the time they're always involved. So if it's at short notice, they can go to your meeting and hit the ground running. That is so very, very important. Remember now, put it in your diaries, as we heard yesterday at the multiple district meetings. We have Barbados in 2020, we have St. Martin in 2021, and we have Cayman in 2022. So we can all start saving for that, right? Now let us talk about the additional roles and responsibilities of the president and the vice president.
Lion Paulette, before you move on.
Yes.
Little bit of housekeeping. I've had numerous calls, messages, asking that they would love to see the faces of the presenters.
Good.
So I'm going to ask Lion Lindell and yourself going forward to turn your cameras on. I'm still trying to decide if I'm brave enough to show my face.
Can you imagine? Okay, I will do this after this presentation that I'm finishing, and I develop myself to be camera worthy.
Oh, okay, Lion Paulette. The other thing is maybe we could just take a little question and answer period now for anything that Lion Lindell or you or I have shared.
Okay, are there any questions so far based on what Lindell and I have presented? Nothing yet? So I shall continue then. Thank you, Lion Judy. Now, the president's role and responsibility, as we are talking about, now is the time for you to do your preparation. Tomorrow is June, and we would hope that you're looking at what your current president, the president of the 30th of June, would have accomplished and where you will take over. And I noticed Lion Judy spoke about not throwing out everything with the bathwater, but taking on and continuing good projects that will add value to the club. So between now and the end of June, it's time for you to put your house in order. And we see here to develop a SWOT analysis, and that's a simple term used in the marketing world. The strengths, weaknesses, and the opportunities and threats of your club. The strengths and weaknesses are usually the strengths and weaknesses of the club itself. The sort of membership that you have, that's a strength. And the weaknesses can be the membership as well. A lot of us in recent times have been talking about the aging membership, and they see it in some instances as a weakness. But I don't look at it as a weakness. I look at it as persons who now have the information that they can pass on to the younger members, so they can be resource persons. The opportunities we speak of course, is the opportunities that your community would offer you, and some of the projects that the international president, the district governor, and everybody else is suggesting. So you can use some of these new projects as an opportunity based on the makeup of your club. And of course, the threat. All of us will jump on COVID as one of the threats, but it could also be used as an opportunity, right? So critically sit down, look, take a piece of paper and cut it in 4 parts, and put one quarter strengths, the other one weaknesses, opportunities, and interests, and just fill them in. And you do like a brainstorming in the club. And no bad idea is a bad idea. Every idea is good. And you'll be surprised at the end of the day when you get everybody's buy-in. You look at it now and say, okay, let us make some recommendations for the future so that we can see exactly what our club will need, the resources that it will need, the finances that it will need, the type of membership that it will need. And you'll be surprised how come July 1 or near thereafter, what you'll be finding and how easy it will be to settle down and start the work. Then we will talk about now identified projects to be executed. As I said before, most of us, most clubs, take on projects that suits the quality of their club. And it is based on the membership base. If you have persons like a lot of nurses in the club, you might want to do a lot of health projects. If you have marketing people, you can get into PR projects and so on. So what we're saying, look at the quality of members that you have in your club and see what their special interests are and fit them in. And this is why I said before, also fit them into the various committees. So they'll be happy performing in a particular committee because that is where they feel more comfortable, right? And then the available resources is the manpower and the financial resources. And committees are named and chairpersons identify, as I said before, and put these persons based on their various personalities. They will work much better there. The next thing we will talk about is partnerships. Julie spoke about partnerships in a particular way. What we want to make sure is that we're not an island. As a club, there are other clubs that have other ideas and might be wanting to do a project, maybe struggling with the project because they don't have the resources, whether it be financial resources or membership resources. Nothing wrong with partnering with another club. Nothing wrong, not on the line club. And there's also nothing wrong with partnering with another type of organization, right? That there's a Rotary and others. But what I've noticed in recent times, though, is that a lot of these clubs, they don't do hands-on projects. Like where we will do a breakfast program and we will spread out and say, you do the dumpling, you fry the saltfish, you do the soul, you cook the porridge. What some of these clubs will do is just go to a restaurant and order all of this and present it. It's not nice, it's not as good when you actually get in and do the things yourself. But for major projects as well, that could mean multi-million dollars coming into the various clubs. it is good we go in partnerships with other organizations, preferably Lions first. But if it can't happen, there's nothing wrong with going outside. And we talk about also the swearing-in ceremony for officers who are not sworn in. This is something that you must do to make sure that everybody in your club is so-called legal. So for whatever reason, if somebody can't be in attendance at the swearing-in ceremony, please make sure that you have that happen as quickly as possible after your first meeting. And be reminded, most clubs have at least a zone chairman in the club, or there's a zone chairman within the area that you can call on one evening. And there's several persons who can be the zone chair, region chair, and anybody who's, I would imagine, like a district officer who will swear in these members. Financial statements are very, very important. When you're coming in, you want to know what sort of money you have. Most clubs would have done their audit, and you would know exactly what sort of money you have working with from the different accounts. Because as you know, not all the money from all the accounts can be used for everything. There's some that when the money is coming from the public, you can only use it on the public, and so on. And the monies that we get in, like for tail twisting and other thing, can be used for administrative purposes. Make sure you prepare a budget. It's vital that you prepare a budget to make sure that you are not spending more than you are supposed to spend. The persons, this is another little mini fundraiser, persons who host social meetings and provide raffle gifts and that sort of thing. You provide a raffle gift, and it is raffled, and that little money can go into part of the kitty. There's so many things you can do as mini fundraisers, and then you make special provision for the bigger fundraiser. Okay, when we talk about now our retreat, the retreat must come before you start your year come 1st of July. And this is where you get everybody together. Make sure that you decide what you want to do some brainstorming sessions, and then you will come up with a good plan to hit the ground by July 1. Another point, sometimes a sore point, encourage membership to make payments of dues. It would be nice that when you go in 1st of July and you look at the books, every single person has been paid up to 30th of June. That would be marvelous. Okay? But in the real world, that might not be 100% possible. But we try our best. And identify unique tasks to be implemented and executed. And when I talk about unique tasks, I would say that the special projects of the club, sometimes it is your sustainable projects that you feel good about. But let us look at it. All sustainable projects can be tweaked a little bit. Some of the sustainable projects might be growing quite a few years now. And you just want somebody to look at it and say, if we do so and so with this particular project, we could maybe make a little more money, or we could maybe satisfy more of our constituents. So you want to look at your project, no matter how successful you think it is, and to see how you can improve on the projects. And I can think of some projects readily that we see are making millions of dollars. For instance, the Mandeville Club, they're a multi-million-dollar project, Menu Cook, right? And then we have the Lions Club of St. Andrew with their dental clinic, and we have Mona with their environmental projects, and so on. And we have lots and lots of clubs, and we have St. Andrew Central with their breakfast feeding program. And all of these projects and much more in the district, we can look at and see how it can be tweaked to make a little more money, or to make persons more satisfied from the community that they serve, right? And I'm going to ask now Lan Lindell to take over from me and continue on the Lions President's role and responsibilities. Until Lindell comes on, are there any questions thus far? Lan Lindell, over to you.
I'm here now. Thank you. So,
Lan Lindell.
Lan Lindell, we're not seeing you.
You're not seeing me? I am I wonder why my camera is on. I am not certain why you're
Oh
not
yes,
seeing me.
I'm seeing you now, Lion Lindell.
Oh,
Thank you.
I know I usually have a problem if it's a matter of standing up and you know, because I'm vertically challenged, but it shouldn't really matter that much.
Can I offer you a few questions, Lion Lindell?
Lion Lindell, I wouldn't know what you're talking about.
I
Yes,
can let you do some.
that's all right. Continue with the roles and the responsibility.
Yes.
You must understand the objectives of the international president, the district governor, and the zone and region chairpersons. I want to emphasize something with this though. Every international president has their own objectives and their own goals for the year. Every district governor also has theirs, and the zone chairman and the zone and region chairpersons also have theirs. Every Lions president needs to remember that his first and greatest responsibility is to serve the needs of his community which his Lions Club serve. So regardless of what the objectives of the international president, the district governor, the zone chairperson, or the region chairpersons are, if they do not fit in with the needs of the community that your Lions Club serve, then your first duty is to have projects and goals which meet your needs. Not those of the international president, not those of the governor, not those of the zone or the region chairperson. Your needs, your community. There are some very universal needs, however, like diabetes, like blindness, like other things of that nature, which you'll find will coincide with your community. But I just want you to remember that the responsibility first is to your community. It is your responsibility to pass on those indications and directions to your club members, in particular, your vice president and your membership chairperson. So they should know what the objectives of your leaders are, keeping in mind what I said to you earlier. It is important that you use your reporting skills to provide evidence and impact on a timely basis. That is pretty straightforward. You must be able to not just state what the things are, but to demonstrate them, to show how they might be useful, how they can be done, implemented within your area. You must guide your club members and ensure that they are familiar with the reporting guidelines and the time management protocols, in particular, your secretary and treasurer. No matter how good a president is, no matter how good the members of your club are, if persons like your secretary and your treasurer don't do the things they're supposed to do, then you might find that your club is not getting the kind of result it would like to have and being as successful as it could otherwise be. So you as a president have to ensure that you remind them what has to be done. You constantly emphasize that they need to see that those things that are to be done are done on time and that they are done in the way they should be done. Hopefully, from these sessions, I'm sure all treasurers and secretaries would have been online in their own sections and would have heard, and so you won't have this problem in the immediate future. You will work closely with the Leo advisor in your club to ensure that your Leo club is healthy and vibrant in promoting youth programs within the community and assist in ensuring that healthy relationships are maintained with your club. And you all heard earlier in the Leo forum, Leo workshop, and in other sessions so far, that there are two kinds of Leo club, and the way you work with them is different. Your school-based clubs, for example, will require a different kind of approach to how they do things and when they do things than your non-school-based clubs. But you will ensure that the Leo advisor is given the assistance that is needed to carry out those. And as most clubs do nowadays, you not only just have a Leo advisor, but you tend to have a Leo advisory committee. That is, you have more than one person who can assist, can work with the club from time to time. You will ensure that your club has a clearly defined set of goals, which would cater for the development of the members as well as the community, and that a realistic budget of income and expenditure has been prepared. You know, sometimes you hear Lions presidents on swearing in say, my goal this year is to grow the club by 20%. 20% of 20 would just be 4. 20% of 40 is a bigger number. If you look at your community, it might not be possible to get 20% easily within a year. So when you set goals, ensure that your goals are realistic. Ensure that you're looking at where this is going to come from, how the goals are going to be met. Your membership, you have heard a lot about membership growth and membership retention from time to time. And sometimes it just requires your president, your board, under the guidance of the president, to just look a little more at the individual members. A little telephone call to a member who has not been seen for a while, a little query as to how a member's child is doing or children are doing. Those things help with the development, help with the strengthening of a member's resolve in your club. And when you set budgets, don't just pick figures out of the air. Ensure that they are realistic. You can have big projects planned if you have big money coming in. And I just like to remind Ryan Paulette that the men who cook, yes, does make money, but sometimes the requirement for the money is, it still falls short. And you make $5 million and you have a project like the pathology lab, which is 200 million, then you're still not in the ballpark. But your budgets must be realistic. You must think of what you know you can raise, what you reasonably can expect, and don't just choose a figure because it sounds good. Lion Judy, I'll pass on to you.
Thanks, Lion Lindell. I'm going to be brave and put on my camera too. So I can imagine that some of the vice presidents sat through that part of the presentation and felt very smug, that the presidents have a lot of work, lots of roles and responsibilities. But you have yours, because yours is not an honorary position. You have to take your nomination and your election seriously. You have to commit to your growth and development. Learn about every aspect of your club and Lions Club International. Invest in your own development. Use the LCI website. Lion Lindell later in this presentation will speak to you about some other resources. Attend workshops. Have you considered, for those of you who might be shy, unable to address a large gathering, do something in public speaking, something that can help you not only in Lionism, but even in your own personal life. Invest in your own development. Use your years as vice president as your period of preparation. Be accessible. That means be the kind of vice president where members will want to come and speak with you, want to give you ideas, want to question certain decisions, and you ought to be in a position that you can explain to them why the club took that line of action. Show interest in everything that is happening. Lion Lindell touched on something very important, the personal touch. It's not just the business of Lionism that you must show interest in, but certainly in your members. Show interest in those who have wonderful things happening in their life, and the same way about those who are going through rough periods. So you are developing relationships within and outside the club, not just with your members, but use every opportunity to put on that vest and introduce yourself as the first vice president of your club. Be a team player and an example to your members. Refrain from separating yourself from decisions that have been made, duly made in the club in the correct way, where you can make statements that them say and not we have decided. Please be a team player and set an example for other members. Passionately accept your role as president in training. Some persons are lucky enough to have 2 years to be president in training. Some just a year, but whatever the period is, use it to your effect and benefit. Be the kind of vice president that you wish you have during your year as the president of your club. Dan Lindell, back to you.
Yes, thank you, Julie. Be prepared. If you are going to take up the position of presidency of your club, you have to be prepared. And a number of things you need to do. I just share this thing anecdotally. Years ago, when I was elected as vice district governor, the first thing I did was went and got a psychometric test done professionally. You know, that's one of those tests where they ask you all kind of questions and that kind of thing to find out what your personality is. What are your, you know, do you like working with people? Do you like prefer working with things, etc., etc. I went to do that to ensure that I know where the shortcomings might be. What do I need to work at from now? What will I have to try and fix in myself? Now, everybody don't need to go through something like that. Most people know themselves very, very well, but in being prepared, it is best that you understand what you are going to be facing and ensure that you do whatever is going to help you to be able to manage in the situation. Within the club itself, you would consult with key members before each meeting. It has always been said that the most successful meetings are meetings which are usually done before they have actually started. And what that means is that you are coming up to a meeting, you would hopefully have had the minutes of the meeting before, and you are able to look through, see what are the things which are outstanding, see what the decisions are that were made. Remember from your own, your own recollection, what was some of the stumbling blocks. Talk to others. See how you can ensure that some of these things are straightened out, at least in your own mind, before you actually start the meeting. Some other area that you find always tend to drag on and drag on and drag on in meetings, the question of matters arising. A lot of that dragging on and dragging out could be prevented if you consult with your members before. John was expected to have done something between the last meeting and now. It would be good if you are able to find out from John, had it been done? Why wasn't it done if it wasn't? What are the results of it being? So that if it comes up under something like matters arising, you can take 20 seconds, half a minute to deal with it, rather than 20 minutes trying to find out all that you could have found out before. So pay some attention to that. Consult before your meetings as much as you can. Distribute detailed materials, including minutes prior to meeting. It is not a nice thing to come to a meeting and you're seeing the minutes for the first time. And then you're going to take 20 minutes to look at our grammatical and spelling errors and all of this, which could have been done had you received them earlier, and you could have, said a quick word to the secretary, this needs to be changed, this, etc., 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 so that when you come to meeting, you have gone over that hurdle. Try to start and end meetings on time. This is one thing which seems only ready to work excellent in our present forum, online meeting. Usually because there's a constraint in the time going over, and because people tend to be more relaxed and get to meeting on time. But I notice a problem, especially when people have to go far to get to their meetings. But it is really important that you try to have that done, to have meetings start and end on time. Pay attention to protocol. Another word for protocol is simply good manners. And sometimes just exercising good manners can make a lot of difference to your meeting and to how people see your meeting and how they see you as president within the meeting. Can you imagine you going to your meeting and you have your mayor just dropping in, and you know it is the mayor, either because you know the person or because you were sensible enough to have found out, ask questions to find out who this person is before the meeting starts, and you simply continue with your Lions meeting because he's a mayor and he's not a lion and you don't have any right to be there, etc., etc., without acknowledging his presence. Or your district governor just drops in and you do the same thing. Now, certainly, if you put yourself in that person's position, you would not like to be in a situation where you are ignored or just disregarded in that way. So pay some attention to your protocol. Understand your protocol and follow it as best as you can. Be clear on the objectives and the purpose of your meeting. When you come to a business meeting, it should be because certain other things have been done before. Don't come to your business meeting to have a committee meeting. Don't come to your business meeting to have a social. Now, bear in mind, you would have your field twister who might interrupt the meeting at any stage just to lighten up a situation, but ensure that the meeting that you know you are having, your directors meeting, your business meeting, your social, you know what your objectives are, you know what you expect to get out of that meeting, and you will ensure that that is where your intentions will be. I'm sorry, there is a strange sound that is coming from somewhere. I don't know if there's a mic on which is causing this distortion. Please, if there's any mic on which can be turned off, I'd be grateful. All right. Prepare and stick to your agenda. A lot of meetings you find you start talking about your item 3, and then all of a sudden somebody raised something from item 6, and you are not bold enough to say, well, listen, we haven't reached to that yet. We'll deal with it when we get there. And you jump to item 6, then you come back to item 5, etc. Don't do that. If you have an agenda, stick to your agenda. Next slide, please. Limit the time spent on each agenda item. Again, I'm going to appeal if somebody can turn off, but that is, yes. Limit the time that is spent on each agenda item. And this is a good thing to do before the meeting. If you make the kind of consultations you should have, if you discuss with your secretary, other people who are going to have something active to do in the meeting, then you can actually time the items so that you don't spend 2 hours dealing with one thing and then you have to try and rush the other 10 items because the time is almost gone. If an item is taking too much time, refer it to a subcommittee for follow-up, because obviously the things which should have been done to ensure that that item can be dealt with in time weren't done or was not able to be done. So you refer it to a committee and you move on. Prioritize agenda items. Some are going to be more important than others, so you put them in that order so that the ones that are really necessary to be dealt with can be dealt with. Now, this other point, listen, is extremely important. Anybody who likes the sound of their own voice to the total disregard for anybody else's voice can never be a good leader. It is good to talk when you need to talk, but it is also good to listen as much as you can before you talk. Khalil Gibran once said that oftentimes in speech is thought murdered. And that is largely because so often we don't listen. You hear things, but if you're not listening, then you're really not hearing them. It's a sound. And then when you respond, when you react, you realize that had you just listened a little more, you would not have done or said what you did, and things would have gone easier and more smoothly. Avoid repetition. Repetition can be useful sometimes, but in many times, it is just unnecessary. You have said something, it has been heard, move on. Don't keep on saying the same thing over and over. It doesn't add anything to it. Democracy rules, but too much can cause mayhem. You know, Bernard Shaw once said that the only real problem with democracy is that it has never been tried. Because what we think of as democracy at the time is just who can outshout the other person. And that's not what it is. It is that you listen to everybody as much as you can, and then you make your decision. But you must remember, if the thing is really democratic, another side of democracy is that once the decision is made, it becomes the decision of everybody, regardless. It doesn't matter what your original position was. Lion Judy referred to this alluded to this a little earlier. When you have a point to be discussed and you come to a conclusion, nobody should be saying, well, I never agree with it. Once it has been concluded that this is where we're going, that becomes the way everybody should go. And if you decide that you're going to get quote unquote democratic to the extent that everybody talk until they're tired, then at the end of the day, you're not going to get anywhere. That too is not democracy. There's not too much democracy. It's definitely just not democracy. Right? So remember, you don't want mayhem. You discuss something, you decide, and you move on. Be aware of the different personalities in your club. That is something that we have always said to our tail twisters. You must be careful how you're twisting somebody, because this person might be thin-skinned, this other person might be able to take a joke. But you must also be aware for other reasons than just poking fun. Some persons are not going to speak up willingly, but might have a lot to say. And if you know this and you understand the personality, you might be able to get from that person what you need than waiting for that person to actually volunteer it. So be aware of the different personalities. Poke some fun in the meeting. That is the tail twister's role, but trust me, it is also your role as president. Don't just sit and just be straight-faced and constantly serious. You know what I like to do before going to a meeting? Anything that happened that is funny around me during the day, I try to find a way to see if I can incorporate it a little bit, just bring it in. Because sometimes you just want a little smile on somebody's face to make things go a little better and make things go a little smoother. Luckily for somebody like me, I have a built-in joke machine, because people, and I think Diane Julie can probably relate to this, people like to take advantage of your height or your lack of height. So it can always easily be used to lighten up things a little bit. Somebody says some things and you just remind them that it went over your head. That's not because it is necessarily profound, but because you're too short. So, find ways to poke a little fun. Don't make the meeting too dry and too dead. All right, so having said all of those, let me just spend a little time looking at your district that as a president you need to know. Our district has a district governor. Our district governor is Jamaican and will still be here until the end of June. But by the time your year starts, Lion Maureen from Barbados will be your district governor. Your district cabinet will meet 4 times for the year. And you are, as president, expected to go to the district cabinet meetings. Now, with COVID and with what we have learned from COVID, I can promise you that many of the cabinet meetings might necessarily require you traveling, but your attendance will be required nevertheless. The Constitution now allows the first meeting to be an online meeting if the district governor so desires. It also says that the third meeting must be an online meeting. And so the second and fourth, which is the mid-year conference and the convention meetings, are the ones which would usually require us to travel. But as president, you are expected to attend these meetings. Your district governor's cabinet comprises the governor, of course, the immediate past governor, the first vice district governor, which you should all know is Lion Claudio Boncampo from St. Martin, and the second vice governor, which is Lion Nicholas de Costa from the Cayman Island, from Cayman Brac. And you have your region chairpersons, your zone chairpersons, your cabinet secretary, treasurer, and other lions on the district as the district governor so decides. You need to know these persons. You've already been told how to about your role with your zone chairpersons and your region chairpersons. You have been told that you must attend your zone meetings because you are an advisory member of the district governor's advisory committee, and you will attend your region meetings. You'll have 4 zone meetings, and you may have 4 or less region meetings. Now, at some time during the year, you are going to be visited by your district governor and your region chairman and zone chairman. You usually visited in the order of your zone chairperson coming first to your club, and then your region and your district governor finally. Now, you must, in preparing for these visits, ensure that the proper protocols are observed. If your zone chairperson is coming to the club, don't allow your zone chairperson to come to the club and then realize that you don't know the zone chairperson's name. You don't know where, in our case, in our zone, it would be Lion Rohan, but whatever your zone chairperson is, whoever your zone chairperson is, sorry, you would need to know the zone chairperson, certainly the zone chairperson's name, the club he or she is from. You will prepare for his or her coming and accommodate them as best you can. Have some kind of slot on your program. Don't just let them come and try to fit in. Have a time prepared, and you must be prepared to give certain things to your zone chairperson. If they need to know about your finances, if by the first time they're coming, your budget should have been ready. You should have your objectives clear. You should have your meetings scheduled, what is going to happen, what your projects are, etc. And you should be able to advise them, tell them about your club so that they can assist in pointing out anything that needs to be done and prepare you ultimately for your district governors coming. Now, if you look at, you remember Lion Paulette spoke earlier about doing your SWOT analysis and that kind of thing. If you have done those, then you would be in a better position to satisfy the requirements when your zone chairman come. And you'd realize I'm not reading it verbatim from your slide, but you will follow. If you follow these things, then you will be properly prepared for the zone chairman, your region chairman, and your district governor ultimately. As we have seen in this year, the district governor wasn't able to cover everybody because of circumstances beyond her control. In future, district governor might not necessarily come to every club physically, but however the district governor interfaces with the club, you must be prepared to satisfy the requirements. You must know about your projects. You must know about your targets, how far you have been able to reach them. You must embrace still the District 60B forward, which is not going away, which is something that we all have to keep in mind, as it can only lead to the development and the improvement of your district. Now, what are your resources? The Lion Code of Ethics. We said earlier that this is something that you need to have in your bag, or as I suggested, probably better on your phone or on your tablet. And certainly better if you have it in your head. at all times. The online, if you go at the Lions International website, you will find your ebooks for for presidents and vice presidents. Do read them. I think the president's ebook is only about 16 pages. It's not a very long document, but it has a lot of information which will assist you in being able to carry out your functions. You should by now, if you have reached to the position of president, then certainly you would have heard about MyLion. Certainly you would have signed up, registered on MyLion, and hopefully you would have paid it attention from time to time. I believe after this there's going to be a session on MyLion, so I won't say any more on that. And you must get yourself familiarized with our district website. It is a beautiful website and it has a whole lot of information. So familiarize yourself with this website. Ask questions from those who can assist you if you don't understand how to navigate around the website. But this is one way in keeping yourself in tune with what is happening within your district. And as it has links to Lions International, etc., with the wider Lions community. Lion Judy, I think that's as much as I wish to say in these areas now, and we can move back over to you.
Thank you, Lion Lindell. So Lions, we're almost at the end of our presentation. We want to invite questions at this point. If you would like the questions to be answered by anyone in particular, please indicate. If not, the team could take it. Any questions? So presenters, it's one of two things. Did we have a question?
Yes, pleasant good afternoon. I am Lion Melissa Taylor from the Lions Club of Mono. I'm ingoing president. And I'd like to ask Lion Paulette a question. My internet went out a bit when she was discussing something to do with SWOT. So is it any at all possible, Lion Judith, she could just give me a brief rundown of it, because I think I missed out on most of that.
One of it, Lion Melissa?
Yes.
Lion Melissa, I'm sure that Lion Paulette would be willing to share this with you, but I just wanted to remind everybody in this group that this presentation, as with all the others that went before, will be placed after we tidy it up a bit. It's going to be placed along with the recording of the session onto the district website. So you will not miss anything. You will get it then. But if there's something urgent, I'm sure Lion Paulette would share with you now.
Thank you so much, Lion Judith. I will wait until such time. Thanks so much. I'll wait. Thanks.
But Lion Melissa, what I'll also do is later on I'll send you some information.
Thank you so much, Lion Paulette. I await that. We'll talk. Thank you.
Okay.
Are there any other questions? It's either that we did, team, it's either that we did very well or that everybody is sleeping at this point.
You did very well. You did well.
Judy. And Judy?
The president.
This is Wendy Haynes.
Yes.
Yes. One thing I didn't hear mention about the vice president is that in the event that the president is not able to conduct the meeting, they should be also ready to do so.
Right. It was covered earlier in the presentation, Lion Wendy. It was taken in that section with the oath.
Yes.
Okay. Right? So that was addressed.
Yes.
Thanks very much anyway. Any other questions? Okay, so Lance, at the beginning, I asked you to think about one word to describe how you felt at the beginning of the presentation. And I wanted to use this time to let you think to say, do you feel the same way? Or is it that your feeling about your new role has changed? Are you more comfortable taking on what can be a mammoth task, but one which we hope that through this presentation, having provided you with the guidelines to help you experience a good year, you are comfortable but excited. We want you to be excited. We don't want you to be comfortable and just not excited about it. So I hope that the information we shared will be useful to you. We encourage you, as Lion Lindell stressed.
Feeling overwhelmed and excited.
Lion Milver, you had a question?
No, Lion Judy, I was just saying that I was feeling overwhelmed yet excited as I look forward to the start of my year.
I'm glad to hear from you, Lion Milver. Well, that's good. Don't be overwhelmed. It's a lot of information, and that's the reason why it is being put on the website. So, on those nights where you jump out of your sleep and think that you can't manage, you just review the information and go back to sleep, okay?
Will do, Lion Judy.
All right. One of the lucky things with this group is that the 3 presenters are here in Jamaica. We don't mind that you call on us. As I said before, older lions like to be thought of as resource persons. Lion Lindell, I'm picking on you because you keep on talking about short people like me. I'm talking about old people like you. So,
okay.
we hope you have found the information useful and wish for you and your administration the best year that your club has ever had. Following this, there's going to be a presentation on the My Lion. That's at 6:30. Please be a part of it. It was wonderful to see that we went over 80 participants in this session. So if we could get those 80 back again at 6:30, we will be overjoyed. Immediately after the My Lion presentation with Lion Steve says will not take him more than 45 minutes to an hour, we will have a little appreciation function honoring all the presenters who have been working very hard for the past few weeks and have been presenting since Tuesday. One last announcement, there was one presentation that we should have had yesterday, but because of poor weather, it didn't go through. That presentation for Leo advisors has now been scheduled for Saturday. I think Saturday is the 8th. Am I correct, Lion Lindell?
Yeah, I think so.
I need somebody to check their calendar.
Saturday is the
Is
Friday.
the 6th.
The 7th.
It's the 6th of June. Saturday is the 6th.
Saturday is the 6th. Saturday is the 6th.
Yeah. So it's going to be on Saturday, the 6th of June at noon. As usual, we will send out the meeting coordinates in due course. At this time, may I ask Lion Avaloy if she has anything she would like to say?
Yes, Lion Judy. Thank you. Distinguished Lions and Leos on the call. Leos, my fellow Lions, good afternoon. The organizers of Incoming Officers School have done it again. And I have been given the opportunity to move the vote of thanks this afternoon for the President's and Vice President's training here today. My very special thanks to the organizers for this online training school. This is such a fitting response to COVID-19, and we are most grateful to be attending on this platform. To our facilitators, past Council Chair Lion Lindell Smith, Progressive Melvin Jones Fellow, Lion Judy King, Melvin Jones Fellow, and GLT Associate Chair for Region 1, and Lion Dr. Paulette McGregor, Melvin Jones Fellow, GLT Associate Chair for Region 4, for their succinct, engaging, and very informative lectures on how to prepare ourselves as CEOs and line leaders of our various clubs. Special thanks to our IT team, led and supported by Lion Wendy Labari, Melvin Jones Fellow, Lion Vilma Campbell, who led us in a prayer or the Lion's Prayer, and all other Lions who have helped to make this session the successful one it is. Lions and Layers, an event like this cannot happen overnight. The wheels started to roll weeks or months ago. It requires planning and a bird's eye for details. We have been fortunate enough to be backed by a team of very motivated and dedicated colleagues who know their areas very well. I cannot thank everyone enough for their involvement and their willingness to take on the completion of tasks. Once again, I want to state that we are all most grateful to all facilitators here. We thank you for being with us this evening. It's been a great pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Lion Avaloy. Lions, thanks for your participation. Wishing you all that is good. Thank you for attending.
Thanks, bye.